certain teams here that, quite frankly, would love to shake things up. But 164 kilometres is a long distance, especially with perhaps unfamiliar climate to a few. They're just gathering everyone together, and soon we will be racing. The one thing they do have, Brian, is a well-mapped idea of what this course offers. We know as well that does not mean it's predictable.
Yeah, they've already done some sighting laps earlier in the week, and I think most of them have watched the other races on this circuit. And just to put it into perspective, we've got, you know, about 50 World Tour riders here. That's the highest level. Second Division Pro Team 12, Continental level 13. As Carlton says, we've got riders here that haven't raced in over 300 days. Some of the riders from some of the smaller nations. So we've got 29 of them debuting this year in the World Championships. Guinea, Tanzania, Senegal, Botswana, Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, and the individual neutral athletes. So, you know, there's a few athletes that we've seen at the back already. This is the first chance of world title glory, so let's give them all the support we can get.
The Amaro Stadium, a stadium of love, that sounds like, doesn't it? Next to the DK Stadium, where we started off with our individual time trial with raucous atmosphere. The fans will be out in force despite the cloudy weather here. We're generating our own wind, but there is a little bit blowing, as you might be able to see from the top of the trees. I'm expecting this to be reasonably lively at the beginning. For some athletes, they would like to get themselves at least mentioned before the pointy end of the day. We saw as well, great result for Africa, best ever for Ethiopia, and Kese Kiros. Won't be giving too much away for those of you who would like to watch on Catch Up, the women's junior race, but Kiros with a 7th place in that race was absolutely superb. Just as a warning, we might well be back referencing that race a little bit later on, but for Kiros, that giving great impetus and hope, I think, to a lot of the African athletes to go well here today, at least in the early stages, maybe.
Yeah, history already been made, and, you know, nice to see so many, you know, African riders in this race today. When we break it down, we've got 52 riders from Europe, 25 riders representing Africa. North America get 10, Oceania 7, Asia 7, and South America 3. So we have got probably the most that we've seen ever in the World Championships from Africa. This is why we're here. We're trying to inspire, you know, the young African young riders, and, you know, that's why we're here and seeing some new countries at the World Championships.
It is about spreading love. Let's not forget that. And we're actually loved Kigali as well. Lively city, as you can see. Still some dirt roads within the capital, but an absolutely impeccable course, I have to say. Infrastructure-wise, after their troubles in the 90s, of course, money poured into this part of the world just to make sure that they were elevated in terms of infrastructure, and we're playing with some of that today. Flag has indeed been waved. You can see some dark clouds up ahead. There is quite a big percentage chance of rain today, but we are already rolling. Kilometre into, in fact, the competition so far, and there's a big check. It's almost a request to be allowed to get off up the road. Some short-handed teams, no representation here either, I'm afraid, for Great Britain, which is something of a shame, I must say. Slovenia with just the one, but with Ursa Ziegert, she'll be hoping that riding solo, something that she'll be looking out for is energy conservation and maybe impose herself a little bit later on. Don't be surprised, Brian, if we get some surprises.
Yeah, well, so far in the races, you know, even looking at the time trials earlier on this week, most of the favourites have prevailed in these championships, but you know, there's a few riders that haven't won a world title yet, and I dare say that Demi Vollering is one of them. You know, former Tour de France winner, and, you know, she has really kind of stepped up over the last couple of years. The Dutch, or the Netherlands, have been the most successful over the championships. 14 titles they've won in the history. France have won 10, Belgium 8, Italy 5, and Great Britain. Italy 6 and Great Britain have won 5 in the history of this event.
Elaine was struggling even in the approach to our start today for Guinea-Bissau. But it's just so wonderful to see so many teams represented here, and we salute Guinea-Bissau and indeed all the other smaller nations as well for actually making this a festival of cycling, which is precisely what it is. It's just absolutely wonderful to be in Africa, quite frankly, pure and simple.
Yeah, there was a little bit of doubt over these championships, whether they had to find another venue, but I'm so glad they've come here. We've had some great racing, some really hard racing. You know, we're talking about over 1,500 metres in altitude, and, you know, of course, we've got 3,350 metres of elevation in today's laps around the Kigali circuit.
There's a vast difference here in terms of support, and Najma from the Comoros, as you can see, already struggling on the first little ramp here. But you actually notice as well from the equipment that is at the disposal of some of the athletes here, it can be very modest, and without the support of teammates around you, you can find yourself exposed pretty early on. But that does not diminish the fact that we have so many nations represented here, and I'm proud of them, Brian, for taking this on.
Yeah, like I said a moment ago, that, you know, some of these riders, yeah, they don't have the same backup as you know, many other riders in this race, possibly on borrowed bikes. You know, the economy isn't great in some of the federations, and, you know, even to come here, you know, that's why the World Championships came to Africa, to allow Africans to participate, more Africans to participate in the World Championships, because they just don't have the money to come to, you know, places like Switzerland or Glasgow or anywhere like that. But one thing is for sure, they've got plenty of support.
How wonderful is that? Well, you're going to hear those voices getting ever more vocal as this almost vortex, really, that we start to generate around this circuit, which really has been very much deep-seated in our consciousness for this past week. And right now, we're going to be playing with it at pace. Time for us to meet some of the athletes who are indeed taking it on. 160.8 kilometres to go. As you can see, some pinch points here as well, some wider highways to deal with. There are some focus turns likewise. Won't be too much of a concern a little bit later on, but what is a concern, and we particularly saw this in the men's juniors.
It's a dream coming reality to host the RWANDA UCI Championship here in Rwanda, and we are very excited, and I'm so happy to represent Rwanda in this race. Thank you.
It's going to be an incredible atmosphere, a lot of people on the side of the road.
Yes, since the beginning of this event, we are enjoying the atmosphere. It's very cool. It's amazing.
And now you have to race, and it's not going to be...
Steps just a little on the right, just a little less. Come back.
A little bit. Ça va?
And in the back. Thank you.
And now it's time to race against the best riders in the world. Is it scary?
It's not scary, but it is hard, I can say, because we are going to race with the best. We are ready to give everything and make our country and the fans proud. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Violette.
Yeah, I mean, actually standing here, I feel like a bit of emotion coming, really, because it really is a special moment. You know, I've had a really long career in professional cycling, but I'm really happy that I'm still here to race in Kigali. It really is special to be in Africa. You know, I've been a pioneer for African women cycling for many years. I'm really happy now that towards the latter of my career, we are seeing more African women in the peloton performing well. So the future is bright. And I hope today just shines a light on the amazing energy Africa has, and the amazing potential.
Because in terms of atmosphere, first of all, what can we expect?
Well, Africa has a special energy, and that's what makes it super special. So I'm really happy to be racing the World Champs in Africa because of that energy. I really thrive on it. The people are just so passionate, so enthusiastic. We've seen it out on the streets. The drums are playing, the locals are out watching. They don't care who wins, they just care that we are here racing on their roads and in their beautiful country.
And you
Yeah, for sure. I think since I've heard it's going to be in Africa, it was a bit of an excitement. To be honest, it's never been a dream I thought I would be part of. So it's very special to be here in Africa, representing an African country, and being one of the favorites and being kind of, chasing the medals. I've never been in this position before, so for sure it adds a lot of pressure. It's the first World Championships I'm ever coming with a big goal. Normally it's to finish the race or to not DNF. So yeah, it's very exciting. It's exciting for African cycling, and hopefully it's not the last one.
Do you like the course?
Yeah, the course is really nice. I don't know anyone that would love the course, but it's a really tough course. The conditions are hard. It's really hot. So I think it's going to be a survival game, and the door will be open on the back from the start. So yeah, we'll just have to take it as it comes, and hopefully the body reacts the way I want it to react. You never know how you'll feel on the day. You might do all the preps that you've done or everything perfectly, but unfortunately your body can decide on the day if it's a yes or no.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Your body can decide on the day. Great to hear from Ashley Moolman as well. We heard there from Kimberly Lecourt. Likewise, the winner of Liège-Bastogne-Liège took a stage on the Tour de France Femmes as well. Great survivor, I think it's fair to say. Ashley Moolman, she could well be, quite frankly, an ambassador for the sport, possibly already filling into that role at 38 years of age. She's been in the top 20 every single time that she has raced in the world, and she's done that many, many times, Ashley Moolman. That is quite a record, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. She's ridden the World Championships for the last 15 years. Our
Never
best
outside
place,
the top 20, yeah.
Yeah, our best place is 8th place. That was surpassed this morning, of course, but I think with Kim Lecourt there as well, she had a terrific Tour de France this year, and the rider from Mauritius. And I think chasing medals, nice to hear her saying that, because she could be making history herself today for African cycling.
This is the Kigali Genocide Memorial in memory of the genocide that took place against the Tutsi in 1994. It's a very moving place, actually. And what is also remarkable is just how this nation has come back together. And indeed, well, I was going to say reinvented itself, but at its heart, it is a spectacular place with a wonderful welcome that has been extended to everybody who's visited here. And we absolutely love it. And I think that's the point, isn't it? You have to leave behind the darkness and find the light. And that's precisely what they have done here. And what we've also garnered is that we have a lot of athletes who are giving it their very best. Nancy Akinya for Kenya, we saw a short while ago. They're just starting to struggle. Likewise, Uganda's Trinita here in the company of Kono from Botswana. So Guinea-Bissau, Comoros, Botswana, Kenya, Uganda, all at the moment just making sure that they represent the very best. And as you're seeing it right now, we've got the best of the future on your screens right now. There's a lot to see if you come here. The Akagera National Park has the big five, of which the giraffes are one. Don't get close to a giraffe. They've got very long legs as well, I can tell you that much. They're not as friendly and as cuddly as you might think. You know about lions. Yeah, stay in the car. That's what I'm saying. But yes, we've also got gorillas up in the mountains, don't forget. And, of course, when you look down from those mountains, you'll see this, which is the pack of elite athletes that are taking on a course, and they're now beginning to realise exactly what they've got to deal with in terms of altitude gain. There's plenty of it. Climbing here will knock back the pace. It will also knock back a few ambitions by the end. It's a question of survival. I'm actually wondering how long it's going to be before we actually get somebody brave. From this distance, you'd have to be very brave indeed, Brian. And I think the pace is being maintained by those teams that just want a modicum of control, at least for now, because they want some energy later on.
Yeah, we heard from some of the African riders in this race, and, it's very important. It's going to be about attrition throughout, and, that's why no one's really kind of striking out for glory. Sometimes a lot of the kind of smaller nations like to do that, like to make a name for themselves, like to kind of put themselves on the map, show themselves to friends and family, and show the country off in a race like this. Of course, not everybody can win today, and being realistic, some of the kind of smaller countries are here just to participate and try to finish I've been in that position myself many years ago, going to the first World Championships, and my goal was going there to honour my nation of Great Britain and to finish the race, of course. And there are a few riders that are just thinking about getting round, but I would expect some riders from some of these nations to put their nose in the wind and maybe try something. But I think everybody knows that this is probably one of the hardest ever courses that we've had at World Championships.
Agreed.
When you consider, the altitude meters we're going to gain throughout the whole race, the humidity, the elevation we're up at the moment in Kigali. You factor in all these. You look at all the other races that we've already had. With the junior women's race this morning, the winner pretty much almost collapsed after the finishing line. That's how hard it is.
The Volcanoes National Park. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. These are nature reserves that are protected, and as a result, within those volcanoes, you'll find the mountains gorillas. And thankfully, their populations have rebounded and indeed are very much on the up, which is fantastic. We also look after white rhino in these parts, I can tell you that much. Well, a whole panoply of different nations across the front line here, and giving an opportunity, I guess, for some to be seen up at the front. Taniel Campbell of Trinidad and Tobago looms a very large figure at the front. Meanwhile, others just starting to feel the impact of what's been a tough day. Tanzania's Asghar Abdullah just off the back, around 100. Needs some practice pinning on those numbers, I can tell you that much. Number 95 as well here is Kapviuleide from Benin. Meanwhile, checking out some of the rice paddies in this part of the world, you also, of course, have an awful lot of tea. Yeah, first brought by Germans, would you believe, in the 1920s. Obviously saw what the Brits were doing around the world and thought, hang on a minute, we should like some local tea. And they produce the most amazing aromatic black tea and white teas as well here, I've got to tell you. But yeah, just try it. Get yourself a nice cup of tea. Be looking forward to a little bit of that myself later on. There are some of the pickers that make sure that the leaves aren't damaged. They're then dried out in the natural sunshine. And in fact, the highest grade of tea is called Nearfan tea, Brian?
Yeah, there's a lot of tea there, but I didn't know there was tea in this part of the world.
Yes. Do you know why it's called Nearfan tea? This is absolutely true. They actually, when they grind the tea, they drop it in front of a fan, and the heaviest part of the leaves without the stalks is closest to the fan, and that's where you get the richest tea, and it kind of grades itself to dust. What an amazing way of grading tea.
Well, I'm a big fan of tea. Would that help?
Yes, it would. But if you're buying Nearfan tea, it's going to cost you a lot of money. If you get the dusty stuff towards the end, you still get a good cup of tea.
Well, being Scottish, I've not got a lot of money.
He has, but he doesn't declare it. Meanwhile, no declaration just for the time being, but I'm afraid Benin, we just saw one scientist suffer, and Awisu, I'm afraid, likewise for Benin, just finds herself off at the back. When you actually look at the equipment as well, some on pretty standard road bikes, the elite bikes, very, very different, Brian, up front.
Yes, indeed. There's a big contrast with what's on offer for a lot of the kind of smaller countries. It comes down to economy for most countries and possibly individuals, because I'm not too sure if there's federations and what federations there are in some of these kind of smaller African riders. But to hear from Ashley Millman-Passio, who comes from South Africa. She's probably the most experienced African cyclist, and I know, having worked with an African team, I took the first African team to the men's Tour de France, and just the atmosphere was incredible. The riders that were there, the experience to go through that with them, and to hear Ashley Millman-Passio saying that, and she's spot on. These people are here to enjoy themselves and support every bike rider. They're just happy that the World Championships are here. They don't care who wins. They just want to enjoy the festival that is the World Championships here.
We love cycling, and we love this as well. Look at the course. Suddenly, you're into cobbles, and these are serious. If you get your gear exchange wrong as you hit the cobbles, you're going to be in trouble. You can find yourself as well sort of shaken out of your own cleats. We've seen that in the junior race a little bit earlier on. You've got to take care on this kind of surface, and it doesn't matter how many times you reach it. Every time is different because of the fatigue levels that start to magnify throughout the entire run, and that indeed, that shock really that you achieve every time you hit this surface, I mean, it adds yet another element to just how difficult this course is.
Yeah, that's the problem you've got, you know, for anybody watching some of the cobbled races in Belgium. It's not just about the steepness, it's the it's the traction over these cobbles that's almost make this climb steeper than it is.
Well, there you are. It kind of a climb is as difficult. You're always saying this, Brian. A climb is as difficult as you make it in terms of how you take it on. And when you add in a surface such as this, it magnifies the difficulty of any percentages you're dealing with.
Yeah, it is all about traction, and when you're bouncing around in these cobbles, even going uphill, you can see, you know, the chain rattling and things like that. To ride across cobbles like this, to try and kind of smooth them out a little bit, what you actually tend to do is ride a slightly bigger gear to try and kind of smooth out, kind of try and power across. Of course, in the World Championships, over this type of distance, you want to save energy, and the way to save energy is by going up the climbs in a very small gear. When you go up in a small gear, you bounce around a little bit more, so it's getting it right.
Well, just check out those who want to mark out each other at the moment. Getting a clear view, especially when the pack is like this, Brian, you don't want to start nudging into people who are maybe struggling just a little bit more than you, and as a result, the safest place to be almost is at the front. Some of the bigger teams have bagged that position at the moment for good reason.
Yeah, it's just a compliment to the riders that we've got in this race already. We've seen a few crashes in some of the other races. No incidents as yet in the women's race, and I hope it stays that way.
Well, just starting to struggle. If you're struggling now, you're going to have, I'm afraid, a torrid time as we go deeper into this race. And Laurie Millet, I'm afraid, is already off the back. They do have Magdalene Valliere, who is here. Now, the course suits that Canadian rider very much indeed. An outside hope, you might say, but I think a very, very strong contender. She's still got Baril, Fortin, Jackson. These are all very much rolling terrain athletes. And when you get that, it kind of, having that level of support, having teammates around you, even just vocal, quite frankly, or just a sense that they're there for you, can actually bring you an awful lot of strength. So don't be surprised if we get some surprises today. And I think Valliere is one of those for Canada. There could be some others that you really need to start marking up as potentials to surprise today. I've got a feeling that Niedermeyer for Germany as well, she's supposed to be backing up Lana Lippert, who was fourth, don't forget, Lippert, in both, well, it was last year and 2 years prior to that. But she's got great support here with Niedermeyer, who's a very good climber, and I think it might be that Niedermeyer herself, who was 18th in Glasgow, is somebody who could come through. Franziska Koch as well, she's got breakaway plans apparently, if you ask inside the German team. Thank you, Carlston, for that. So yeah, she's somebody that might well mix it up and force others to chase on. And that kind of strategy, Brian, it might be a little while before we start to see it, but it's going to happen.
I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen anybody try to go for the moment. Normally that is the case, especially the World Championships. They might be waiting until they cross the finishing line, because when they cross the finishing line, they do have a little bit of a descent. That's probably the easiest part of this course today, but for most, it's the kind of stronger nations. It's towards the front. On the right-hand side, you can see the French, the Dutch are up there. They will always trying to control this, but yeah, for others, it's just about, you know, doing as many laps, staying in this race as long as possible.
Baziga at the back here, number 99 for Kenya, leaving just Kiplagat from their free rider team a little bit further up the road. Meanwhile, Potapova from Kazakhstan is struggling, leaving Osim We said just how tough this course is. I think everyone's giving it a lot of respect at the moment, Brian. The attrition rate already high. We will see riders gated here. In fact, I think we witnessed earlier on in for example, the men's junior race, I think we had 60 finishers. The line was drawn. Behind that, everyone had found the gate.
Yeah, in that race in Friday morning, there was 66 finishers. They draw the line at 15 minutes. If you're 15 minutes behind, you get taken out the race. So for a lot of these riders, even getting dropped now, the chances of finishing are very, very slim because there is a 15-minute cut-off. But yeah, I think you're right. Definitely a lot of these teams giving this race and this course a lot of respect. And of course, most of the stronger nations are towards the front. But just wait till we get past the finishing line, and I do believe that there might be one or two nations might decide to do something. But you can see at the back, Urska Sigard for Slovenia in the green jersey of Slovenia, of course. The girlfriend of Pogacar, but she's a good rider herself.
She is. At the moment, she's keeping herself out of the wind. You can see that sort of Dayglow green just to the back as they take the line for the first time. Well, we now have 10 laps to be completed. So we had 3/4 of a lap to introduce us to the Diamond 10. Should be a diamond dozen, shouldn't it? What can you call 10? The tortuous 10, perhaps. Well, already some struggling, but long way to go as well. Mexico just coming at the back of the feed zone here, just trying to find out a Swanee. I wonder if there's neutral Swanees at the side of the road. There must be, surely, because picking out your team, and it looked like we had somebody out, but I think it was the other side of the barriers, just got themselves out of shape. Maybe just late to the feed zone. I think that's possibly what it was. One of the helpers just getting up there, dropping the bike to try and hand out a bottle. Too late, it's going to have to be next time by. A full lap here, Brian, is a long time to wait if you've already got a thirst on to get back to the feed zone.
Yeah, exactly that. And, you know, we saw in the under-23 men's race that the Belgian team just kind of rode on the front, a little bit like many years ago when Great Britain led Mark Cavendish in Copenhagen to victory. But nobody doing it as yet. So there's a few of the top teams towards the front, but nobody trying to dominate the pace for the moment anyway.
A lot of chit-chat going on there, as you can see, just as they came through the feed zone. In fact, some riders trapped in the middle, just pointing out and indeed missing the drink this time by. Lake Kivu. I remember when I was in this part of Africa, heading to an open-air restaurant, and I'd asked if I ordered fish. And then I thought to myself, oh my goodness, we're so far away from the sea. Is this fish? I mean, I was worried. I was thinking, is this fish fresh? And I asked the waiter in my sort of broken communications, let's say, if the fish was fresh, and he banged a ladle on the table, brought everyone's to attention, and it was a big restaurant, I can tell you that much. And he had a look at the fish. He said, he spoke French. He said, this gentleman has asked, he said, le monsieur has asked, how fresh is the fish? How young is the fish? I'd asked, quel âge? I didn't say how fresh is it. I said, what age is this fish? And he said, he wants to know how old the fish is. He had a look, and then he said, I can tell you that it has not got gold teeth. The whole place burst out laughing. And of course, it was a freshwater fish, and it was absolutely delicious. I ate it with blushing cheeks that I'd even had the temerity to ask. It was gorgeous. In fact, you do get some piquant food here. It's absolutely lovely. 53 kilometres an hour. We'll be nudging up to sort of 70, 75 on some of the descents here, and wherever you have climbs, you have descents, and some are quite focused, Brian. We do have a bit of pace about the circuit as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of tricky corners, and in fact, onto both our climbs, the golf course climb and of course the cobble climb. It's an abrupt start to both of these climbs with a sharp kind of left-hander, but and more so it's a kind of sweeping course. when the pace gets a little bit quicker, you probably ride this course towards the front rather than the back. But in these few laps, normally in the World Championships, you can afford to kind of sit towards the back a little bit and just follow the wheel, especially if you're the only rider of your nation.
Slovenian champion, looking at her right now, is Uzka Zigat. Meanwhile, Mauritius, well, here we are. Abandonment, and this is not good. This is Demonye. I assume that was Hallerboax, but Kimberly Lecourt is going to be isolated. 2 teammates out.
Yeah, she is one of the favourites for a medal today, Kim Lecourt, and I think with it being in Africa, she's super motivated. But like you say, unfortunately, starting with 2 down to 1, it's actually starting with 3 and down to 2 riders now. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, Marina Ores and Halbwax were there together. I believe she's now isolated, Kimberly Lecourt. Well, we shall see. There's some spectacular things to see here. Do you go fishing, Brian? It's not something I know about.
Not as much as I'd like to. I prefer sea fishing to freshwater.
Do you know why? Because it's active, that's why, Brian. You don't just sit and look at a float. You're winding in those mackerel all the time. I know your way. Look at this. If anything, this is a celebration of cycling, and the party started a week ago.
It's been brilliant to see. Great atmosphere. One thing it reminds me of is I'm not a runner, and I get coached into doing a marathon, and it turned out to be the New York Marathon. And I'm not joking you, Carlton. It's the best place to see New York, best way to see New York. Every road I went down, there was a band or something. Everybody was early in the morning drinking champagne, enjoying themselves, and I don't think they really kind of cared about the runners. All they were doing is, this is an opportunity to have a party in every street in New York, and it's the same here. Every part of the course, they're all having a party, just enjoying themselves and enjoying the atmosphere.
Well, as you know, the UCI is about all cycling disciplines, and every now and again we have ourselves a Super Worlds, Brian, where all different disciplines come together.
Yeah, the first one was in Scotland, and I'm so proud to say that. It was in Glasgow, next to where I'm from, Paisley, but it was brilliant, a great atmosphere as well, where all disciplines in cycling came together.
And it's coming again. The UCI, looking after cycling, whether that be on 2 wheels, 3, you name it, we're looking after you. Meanwhile, Karina Schwempf is looking after herself, and the first little prod to get out up the front, and indeed potentially, she would hope, tempt somebody to come and join her. But with 145 kilometres to go, this is a hit and hoper, I'm afraid. That's too far to go solo. Then again, in the men's junior race, we saw a lot of bravery there, didn't we, Brian, a couple of days ago?
Yeah, we did indeed. And, just to update, Trentino has been awarded the 2031 UCI Super World Championship. So that will be a date for your diary over 2 weeks, every discipline coming together.
It's going to be amazing. Meanwhile, out in the lead, Schwempf has gone for it. if your belief is that the day ultimately may not feature you, then make sure that you shout loud and proud early on. She's on her own, is Carina Schrempf, in more ways than one. No teammates in this race. It's down to her, and she's decided that she's going to grab a bit of the limelight, and you'd think that some others would do precisely the same as you said. Yeah,
I was thinking that, of course, Austria have done well in these championships, already. She is, former national champion, and she's got some decent results this year. Of course, she is the only representative from Austria. 30-year-old, and race for Phoenix Deconic World Tour team, but deciding that maybe this isn't a race that's is probably going to suit her, but wants to show everybody and put her name out there.
Well, exactly that. That's good to see. You can see Mauritius just starting to make sure Kimberly Lecourt that she's up towards the pointy end. There'll be a few others as well. Here is the Niambogogo district where all of the team coaches are assembled. This essentially is a national service park for everybody, just to make sure that they get the help they need. There are some generic services as well. And to be fair, a lot of the bigger teams will help out their rivals from smaller nations. You often see that, Brian. Riders just coming asking for a little bit of help from some of the engineers who will offer up their assistance if they've got time. Zheng Yuao, or it should be Lu Yao Zheng, the 27-year-old, fourth in the Asian Championships, as you see, but Chinese champion likewise. Just struggling a little bit in the cars. I don't know if this is her making her way back in or indeed dropping back. I think it's coming in. I would just... I'm going to marvel at have a few little windows into what you can find here in Rwanda. Some of the little enclaves and some of the markets, etc., are absolutely wonderful, where you can find all kinds of produce. But I've got to tell you, some of the tailoring services here are amazing. If you're looking for a loud shirt, head over to the Kimaronko market. Bringing in all of the fresh produce, and I always think if you head off to a market, you see the very best of a nation. Slightly grumpy nut seller there, but nonetheless, it is lovely. It's not just about fresh produce as well. You can actually find yourself, as I said, if Brian is after one of those groovy shirts that he's renowned for, it's the place to come. Oh look, they're knocking up one of your techno shirts, Brian, just black and white.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of black and white.
On or off, that's it. Same as techno, isn't it? Brian's favourite kind of music. There you are. Plenty of smiles. That's what we need. Plenty of miles, or kilometres still to go. We have 142 lying ahead of us. 39 seconds is the advantage of Schrempf for the time being. Nobody else tempted. It's almost like they are afraid of their rivals here. If anything, this day is going to come about timing. The question is, when is that time? We saw it in the junior race where we got a spectacular winner who decided that the time to go was 36.5 kilometres out.
Yeah, it was the same in the under-23 race where it was pretty much dominated by the Belgian national team. And, we'd kind of cracked a little bit in the end, and we had a really nice winner. But in this women's race, I think it's going to be very similar to the men's race tomorrow. That a lot of respect for this course, and it's a case of just kind of waiting. And I think this race will really kind of kick off in the last couple of laps, a little bit like the junior women's race that we had, the first time we've ever had that at a World Championships. So I think this will be a slow burner, this one today.
It would be nice, yeah, but I think everybody who is competing here would like to be world champion. It's a great honor to be a world champion and to be able to ride 1 year in the stripe. So fight will be on.
Did you watch the other races this week to try and maybe understand what would happen today?
Yeah, I did. It's quite difficult to to predict already in our category. I mean, yeah, we have more riders, so it makes a different race. But yeah, you can see in many categories the strongest rider wins. So that's going to be quite fair. But yeah, how it will develop, I think can be different also than if we saw in the other categories. I mean, looking the boys, they just fly in, and the girls a bit more conservative. I think we are a bit in between, maybe.
You like the course anyway?
I like the course. It's really hard. I know already from the time trial as well. If you blow up, probably you're finished. So spend it wisely, your energy, and it's going to be really tough anyway.
Twice a world champion, Anna van der Breggen. Can she do something here today? I guess we're going to find out. Great honour, as she said. She also said a little bit more conservatively. It seems nervous to me. There's nobody in communications here with each other. There's very few words being exchanged. Everyone kind of knows their duties, but this is not a kind of a festival ride, if you will. This is a serious business. Looking at the gaps here between our rider up the road, that's where they are on our circuit just for the time being. Extraordinarily sinuous around this great city. I guess the gift for her is that she can get to the feed as easily as anybody here. Italy just doing much of the tracing just for now. Just sitting inside is Australia. A few of those who've had to call it a day. Just getting into the pit area. This is Bangura of Guinea, joining Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, Tanzania, Botswana, Kenya down to one, I can tell you. Uganda with Trinita also out, both for Benin as well. It's very, very tough. I mean, even just keeping up on rolling approach pace with professional athletes is a very difficult thing if you are functioning as a very, very strong amateur, let's put it that way. This is the Nyungwe National Park, and it is here where you will find the mountain gorillas, population of which has vaulted since indeed protection orders were put in place, and a very, very committed decision to indeed put conservation at the forefront. So look after those great creatures. Meanwhile, taking on board the drinks as you can get them. Riding sensibly, perhaps, is Özge Ziegart. She's very much hovering at the back at the moment, and I think as the attrition rate starts to pick up, the chance of any touches of wheels are starting to dissipate just a little bit. The gap's up to 1:11, and Schrempf is still out here, and as you can see, she's in for the long haul. She's stacked up with gels there, Brian.
She is indeed, and maybe taking a little bit of inspiration from the Olympic Championship, the Olympics when it was in Beijing, when the Austrian rider went down the road and everybody kind of forgot about her, and you know, she took the Olympic title, and Schwarzberger, I think it was, but yeah, maybe taking a little bit of inspiration from that. I don't think that will be the case today. I think we are going to see an exciting race come the finish, but it's one of these situations, Carlton, if you're a single rider like Ziegart is here, the easiest place and the safest place is probably at the front of the back. And of course we see them go through the pit area where they're trying to grab bottles. And the under-23 race we saw a little bit of a crash, and that's what you don't want. So you do take a little bit of risk coming down here, but I think you have to read the race as well. And I think reading the race is very important. I really don't think anything is going to happen too much. Okay, we've got the Austrian rider Schrempf down the road on her own at 1 minute and 17 seconds. I don't think that's a major concern for any nation in this race today. So it's just a case of keeping out of trouble. And
yeah, it's definitely different to anything else we've used to racing in. It's different conditions, but yeah, the atmosphere on the course is amazing. But yeah, training-wise, the roads have been really nice. Once you get out of the city, it's beautiful nature. Yeah, you see people in their daily life, and yeah, it's a bit eye-opening to see a different world.
now it's time to race. What can we expect from you on this race, on this course?
Yeah, it's not a perfect course for me. The climbs are short, explosive, the cobbles, but in the end it will be a lot of altitude meters, and I count on my durability, fatigue resistance, and I hope I can be there in the end. It will be hard to follow all the right moves, so we'll have to gamble a little bit and hope for a bit of luck. Also good legs you need. We saw in the other races that, the legs are important.
Thank you very much.
One of the most important things that you have to avoid is isolation on a day like this. And even the very best can find themselves tagged off. She's riding at the back at the moment is UKO Ziegert. That's by design, and as soon as any gaps open up by some of the athletes who are starting to struggle at the back, she's filling in that gap and then going to the next group. She's riding clever, Brian. She's staying in touch with the main body of the peloton without getting herself disengaged, which is a big danger here.
Yeah, you have to take a chance. When you're on your own, there's not a lot you can do. You have to try and kind of look after yourself and do what's best for you, and she can kind of duck and dive at the front. We've got Alison Jackson on the front here, former Paris-Roubaix winner. But this is a total different kettle of fish, this race today. But you can kind of find your place at the front. But if you're trying to kind of fight to keep that position, it's a little bit easier, especially when she's the sole representative of Slovenia. She's just sitting in the back and making sure that she just saves as much energy as she can, and she'll have to choose when to come to the front, because that'll be the moment. You have to be in the race to be able to kind of feel what's going to happen, and it'll be interesting to see what nation really kind of takes this on, because there's a few of the stronger nations towards the front, although nobody's kind of really kind of taking it on. I do expect from previous World Championships, and I said it right from the start, that the Netherlands are the most successful. They won it 14 times compared to France in 10. But France really do have, I think, the big hope. Tour de France winner, Pauline Prevot, and I think you can see them riding towards the front in the dark blue white sleeves with red on them. I think they'll be looking at Pauline to win this world title again, which she won in 2014.
It's a long old gap, isn't it? I think it will be the record as well, 11 years between the record distance between championship titles for Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. She won Paris-Roubaix, of course, as Brian said, the Tour de France as well, Tour de France Femmes. So yeah, I don't know. It would be spectacular if she did, but she's got to be amongst the favourites. I think both she, Vollering and Van der Breggen, two real big names for the Netherlands. I think Garcia for Spain actually needs to be looked out for as well. If they've had success in these championships and would like a little bit more, quite frankly. Longa Borghini, I'm not quite sure what to expect, but then again, I keep saying that. She took bronze in the Worlds in different categories, but in 2012, 20, and of course last year as well. So she's medalled as the Italian. She'll certainly be part of proceedings, and they've set their stall out early. Have indeed Italy with 7 riders, same number as the Netherlands, who had the right to fight with 8, but have indeed come with 7. Belgium with just 3 athletes, which is something of a surprise. Thought there'd be more. None from Great Britain. Chloe Daggett in the United States, just 2 representatives. Daggett backed up with Ruth Edwards. Just back to UKO Ziegert. She's actually surfing at the rear brilliantly at the moment. Just as others fade, she just moves slowly forward. And don't be surprised if you do get some surprises. As Brian was saying, it can happen at any level. It also happened in the women's road race in the Olympics, as he so graciously reminded us. Meanwhile, you look at who is dominating at the front. It's got very much a European feel.
Yeah, very much so. They kind of dominate continent. 52 riders they've got in this race, twice as more as the Africans, 25. So it's most of the kind of Europeans that are towards the front of this race, just making sure that they're in control. But still, this gap increasing for 147 to or so Austrian in front, and you know, she must be having a whale of a time in front, because, you know, every person is looking at her, supporting her, encouraging her, but it's still a long, long way to go in this race.
Well, you know, even if it comes to naught for Karina Schrempf, there's no certainty in that, no absolute certainty anyway. She's going to be having a party every single time she passes by. The fans, the bands, the start-finish line as well. It's going to be a memorable moment. But, yeah, she's a decent time trialist as well, I've got to tell you. So, yeah, she can indeed bury herself in that regard. And, indeed, occasionally just shine very brightly. She did bronze medalist in both the time trial and the road race back home, but here very much on her own. She's made the trip at the age of 30. And here she is, up another rise in the full hoarded section. There's a cruelty about the finish, Brian. You keep well, I do anyway. I keep thinking it's over. And then, of course, there's another dip and another rise before we finally get to the line.
I think it's possibly the hardest finish to a World Championships in recent years, or in my time on this earth, because I was trying to think of a similar finish, maybe when the one we had in the Netherlands when Philip Gilbert won the men's title there up the Coburg, and it continued on there. But this is a very difficult finish, and sometimes we only know the winner in the last few metres.
Let's see, at the moment, Karina Schrempf is leading, and the clock is now going to give us a definitive count back to the pack. And here they come. There seems to be a bit more urgency about them, even on the last climb, and seems to be more of a pickup. Van der Velde at the back again, with Ziggert staying here, but as you can see, it's thinned down quite substantially. Meanwhile, whatever vantage point you can possibly get is being occupied here, as you can see. And the enthusiasm for this competition and indeed over the fans is just so lovely to see. They're beating the hoardings here. This, to me, looks like we have probably lost about a third of the field, Brian, already.
Yes, indeed, and you know, we started with 104 riders. We've already lost quite a few riders, and you know, once they come across the finishing line, we will know how many riders are left in the race.
We will. Quite a few have been gated, so they will be sitting down and enjoying our commentary. Hopefully you are at home. If you'd like to find us out there, then if you just do a quick search for Bry Smithy, that's my friend Brian Smith here, BRISMITHY, or indeed myself, Carlton Kirby, that's CARLTONKIRBY. Then you'll find us, and maybe you can have a chat with us today. We might indeed find time, but this can explode into action at any time. But as it stands, we still have a goodly distance to be completed. But look at the gap that Karina Schrempf has done. What would happen if Karina Schrempf laps the field?
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, it would be very, very interesting.
They couldn't gate the field, but she'd just have to stay with them. They'd have to treat it a bit like a points race, or indeed, a sprint race, I should say, within the track, where if you lap the field, you're basically a lap up. It's just straight point to point. They're not going to gate everybody. You need a silver and a bronze medal. Meanwhile, here we are. That's over 2 minutes, Brian. She's done a good job.
She is, and you know, I was just looking at the women's road race at the Tokyo Olympics, and it was Anna Kessenhofer for Austria that took that one, and you know, that was from an original breakaway. There was a little bit of controversy that the Dutch riders didn't know what was happening until it was too late, and you know, they lost out. But at the end of the day, I don't think lightning's going to strike twice. I think they all know what the situation is, but you know, bold move here from the Austrian.
Well, if you do come to this part of the world, make sure you get out and about. Often worth paying to have a guide to take you through the day. and quite often that can be very easily found. I always found the best way is actually to approach the universities, and I did so myself actually, and said, if you've got anyone that is studying botany, and was put in touch with a student and enjoyed a day out with him, and it was absolutely fantastic, fascinating, because even stuff that he didn't realise was that magnificent or important, I found absolutely amazing. And at the end of the evening, took me home, had dinner with his family, and it was just the most wonderful experience. Well, this is your ecotourism park. That's what I'm telling you about the big five. But yeah, just take yourself a guide, and I'll tell you about all the different herbs and pick-me-ups. There was a seed ball that I bought, which I was told was extremely helpful at allowing you to breathe more clearly. It was basically menthol. So you ground it down, mixed it with oil, and then just dabbed it underneath on your top lip, and you breathe menthol. And honestly, it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, just natural ecotourism. You can go and enjoy the ecotourism parks. There's plenty of them around here as well. So you get to see some of those creatures that might take you days just to get a rare sighting, and you'll see them stacked up and, well, there for your convenience, if you will. Where else are you going to see? Lots to see here, lot to do, and certainly worth the trip. And I think those who have made the trip are absolutely loving it. I know that the likes of Remco Evenepoel have fallen in love with the place, Mark.
I can believe it. I think there'll be a few people looking at these World Championships and maybe thinking, maybe I should have come.
Yep, definitely.
Look, we mentioned the Belgian team. They are defending champions. It depends on national rankings, and with the Belgium being up there in the rankings and having defending champion, they were the only team allowed to have 8 riders in this race. They've sent 3. All the other bigger nations, with the Netherlands, Italy, and France, all have 7 riders.
How many have Great Britain got?
0. They're concentrating on the European Championships, which are on next week. I think they're just looking at costs,
logistics,
and of course success.
Well, with a very strong Netherlands team here, it can get a bit scary. Italy, France as well, Spain, dare I say. I can understand it. It's I guess, how you moderate your effort. But I think people who are watching this now, Brian, must be thinking, gosh, I wish I'd gone.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's
wonderful.
I think Tom Pidcock was saying that it's like the old Quartermount, and as soon as you say that, you're starting to think of maybe Mathieu van der Poel. Yep. I think Lotte Kopecky just thought, it's a long season for her. She was a bit fatigued, and potentially this course round here in Kigali in Rwanda was a little bit too difficult for her. So when you look at it, and there was a lot of talk about how difficult this course was, and I think that swayed whether riders came or not.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, 33 years of age now. This would be something. Tour de France winner, of course, Paris-Roubaix. Won the Worlds in 2014. Going to hear from Elisa Longo-Borghini in a few moments' time. Somebody as well who has had a great deal of success, and we'll see whether it's a very good course for her, just how suited she is precisely to this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you never know with this weather. It's very humid, it's pretty warm, and the circuit is very tough, but for sure